thing I'm curious about is, what is your view of the left movement at this point? And, and I get into asking you more about Biden and your support of him, et cetera. But, it feels like post Bernie, there's been a lot of disillusion at the national level in terms of like any sort of cohesive left movement. There's very little. I think you're one of the few that almost consistently voices any sort of dissent from the Biden administration when the idea was, okay, we're going to elect the squad. We're going to get these people in there. They're going to fight against Democratic leadership. They're going to make it clear there's a contrast between them and, the Pelosi corporate wing of the party. So what's happening with that project?
Well, I would say the left has been stronger than ever in my lifetime. And I'll say a couple points. We just had a progressive caucus meeting. Bernie Sanders came. He said when he started the progressive caucus, there were 5 members. You got about 100 members there. And all of them almost have signed on to Medicare for all, to a commitment on free college. Now, you could say we haven't achieved it, but we're shifting where the median of the Democratic Party is. And this
Where's the
president,
fight, though? I don't see the fight. On
Well,
paper, they're for it, but nobody's fighting for it.
and let me say, I think shifting the median of where the Democratic voter is, yes, but I mean, healthcare isn't an active topic. Biden has
Wouldn't even do
stopped.
public option.
He doesn't even talk about the public option
Right,
anymore.
yeah.
I don't hear anyone saying anything about it.
well, I agree on healthcare. We haven't done it enough. I mean, the best thing we did on healthcare was the insulin caps, but that was for people on Medicare. We increased some of the affordable care subsidies, but I mean, I think he should have started to expand Medicare to 60 to 55 during the pandemic. He could have done that. He ran on that to expand it to at least 60. We should have done more on prescription drugs. We could have eliminated medical debt in cases where hospitals are engaged in price gouging. So I agree with you on healthcare. We haven't done enough. But I think you would agree that President Biden has been a much, much, much more progressive president than Senator Joe Biden, and probably on many dimensions the most progressive in modern times. I mean, the child tax credit, the fact that we got a bigger rescue plan, that we didn't have the same debates, the fact that we're now saying we got to build manufacturing here, not just offshoring jobs, that we're focused on the working class, talking about unions positively. So the point is, I think my view is post-Biden, there should be 20 years of progressives running the Democratic Party like there were DLC candidates. But we've got to build to that, and we're not going to get there. I think the left, I'm all for criticism. I come on these shows. I know I'm going to disagree with Kyle on some things on Israel. I'm going to disagree.
We appreciate that, by the way.
And I think that's healthy. I don't think you should have sort of a left ecosystem of the media, which is just lionizing the left. On the other hand, there is so much cannibalization of us attacking each other. I was like, let's just get some power first. I mean, let's just get someone, there's got to be some building. And we're much closer than people realize.
So can I just say, here's where the frustration comes from. I agree with you that Biden's the most progressive president of my lifetime. I agree. But that's also like being the tallest kid in kindergarten. and we elected these left leaders so that they could do what the Tea Party did back in the day to Republicans, which is like, I'm going to make your life living hell, and I'm going to force you to accept my ideology, my ideas, which, by the way, is backed up. The American people want these things too, based on the polling, right? And so one of the things that's evidence of, and why many people are frustrated, is that, so in the race right now, you have Cornel West, who's running third-party approach. Now, I have criticism of third-party approach. I think you need to get rid of first-past-the-post voting and do ranked choice voting in order to make that viable. But Cornel West is running, who's a historic lefty intellectual. And then you also, in the Democratic primary, have Marianne Williamson running, who's, it's not debatable, her philosophy and ideology and policies are more in line with Bernie Sanders than Joe Biden's are. And so just one of the things she's running on is reviving FDR's Economic Bill of Rights, which is all I've wanted from any candidate in my entire life. We have the right to a job that pays a living wage, the right to a voice in the workplace through a union. Right off the bat, this is better than Joe Biden. Right to quality universal health care, Medicare for all, better than Joe Biden. Right to a cost-free higher education, better than Joe Biden. Right to affordable good housing, better than Joe Biden. And I could go on here pointing out the areas where Marianne's philosophy agrees more with yours than Joe Biden's does. And I think the frustration is, once people get in that house, once people get in the club, it's like, okay, we're going to close the ranks and we're going to basically play defense for our leader, Joe Biden. And look, I've taken heat for being too pro-Joe Biden when I give him credit on doing things that are good, like pulling out of Afghanistan, right? But you need to see more of that fight from the left-wing Congress people, because we need to know somebody's representing us and our views. I mean, I haven't heard the word Medicare for all said by anybody in Congress in, what, a year now? So your thoughts?
Well, we're still talking about Medicare for all. I mean, maybe the question is how do we get more progress than just talking about it in floor speeches and tweets. But there are places where we fought the administration on student loans. I mean, that was a place. We fought on climate. I mean, the IRA, the fact that they had so many climate investments was because progressives said that's the one place that's non-negotiable. And with the American Rescue Plan, the progressives had a lot of our priorities in that plan. But look, I'm one of the few people I've said nice things about Marianne Williamson, and I've gone on her podcast. I've said that she should be welcomed into having ideas, and if she moves the platform to be more progressive, consistent with voters, good for her. And I never criticize her. People say, well, why aren't you endorsing her? Because I think there's more that goes into being an effective president of the United States than just having a more sympathetic ideological alignment on Medicare for all. I mean, I think it does matter if you've had elective office. It doesn't have to be a lot of elective office, but some elective office. I do think it matters.
But his experience is that, come on, he voted for the Iraq War, he voted for NAFTA, he did the crime bill. His experience is actually bad. I would do a strike against him because, like you said, he was way more conservative as a senator than he is progressive as a president. He's a better president than a senator.
They also, Congressman, could have said those things about you when you were challenging
exactly.
Democrat or AOC when she was challenging Joe Crowley.
I wasn't running for
but there was
president
a
of the United
benefit
States.
to you, and there was a benefit to our country. The fact that you and AOC
were an outsider. You were an outsider.
We're outsiders and had a different perspective.
And I think there's a benefit to having outsiders eventually in leadership and running for president. But I don't think that means no. I mean, if Nina Turner had won, for example, her House seat and run, I think that would have been different. But that said, look, Marianne Williamson is adding to the debate. I think the attacks on her have been unkind, and she shouldn't be silenced. I mean, if she can move the platform in progressive directions, good for her.
I guess the part for me, because this is partly relevant, because AOC just endorsed Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez just endorsed Biden this week. Bernie endorsed him early on. You've endorsed him as well. It's like, we're not naive.
I know how the game works.
I get that you need to work with the president, right? I get that you feel like, and we could debate this, but you feel like keeping a decent relationship with him will enable you to be able to maneuver, to be able to get more progressive priorities into bills. Like, I understand all of that. I just don't know why any of you had to endorse anyone. Like, why not just...
Yeah, if you stayed out, I would have respected that a lot, because that's a wink and a nod to the left. Like, do your thing. Let's see how far this goes.
I mean, you would actually, if you did that, you would be much more in line with the Democratic base, not the left-wing, weird online, whatever. Overwhelming majority of Democrats are like, we actually want options. We actually want a primary. We're actually concerned about the president for a variety of reasons running for office again. So why insert yourself? Why not just stay out? Let the process play out, and maybe call for debates, because that would be good for democracy and consistent with a lot of Democratic Party rhetoric about how pro-democracy we are. So why the need to actually actively jump in for a man that you have a lot of ideological differences with and have been courageous in criticizing at times?
Well, I think the president's first 2 years were more progressive than many of us expected. I mean, people were genuinely proud of the American Rescue Plan. They were genuinely proud of what he did on Afghanistan, what he did on student loans, what he's done on the IRA, what he's doing.
What is he even planning for the second term? I mean, legitimately.
That's a good point,
because the first 2 years, agreed.
Yeah, I do. I 100% agree with you, to be fair.
We don't hear much about, lately what we've gotten is we're going to side with Capitol over workers on a rail strike. We're going to agree to this ridiculous hostage taking from the Republicans and strike a bad deal with them. I mean, that's basically since Ron Klain has left.
That's right.
There's been a turn in the administration, and they have not laid out an affirmative vision for a second term that I've heard of. Maybe you can inform me about it. I hear a lot of cheerleading the accomplishments that happened. There's some things to celebrate there, no doubt. I hear a lot of just, we're not Trump, and that also is legitimate, let's keep the baddies away from the White House. I get that too. But what are we even supporting for a second term?
Well, I think we should lay that out. I mean, we need to get the living wage, a wage increase. That was one of the big misses. We didn't get the minimum wage. We should have fired the parliamentarian. Some of us called on to do that. We should have childcare for everyone. I'm working on $10 a day childcare, but you want to go after people's costs, do childcare. have an agenda to have paid family leave, which we still don't have in this country.
Yeah.
I've said, why can't we bring modern steel plants to places that have been deindustrialized? If Europe's doing that with clean steel, with hydrogen steel, why aren't we doing that in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and Ohio? There's a lot we can do and achieve. And some of it actually with Republican votes. I mean, force them to vote on, are you for paid family leave? Are you for raising the wage? Are you for bringing steel plants into the Midwest? I mean, so I would run on an economic populist agenda and on abortion, obviously reproductive rights and gay rights and democracy. The articulation of that, I think the articulation of the working class economic agenda for a second term has to be stronger. I think the president's done a very good job highlighting the stakes with abortion rights, which are existential for people. He's done a good job on highlighting gun safety. He's done a good job on highlighting the extremism of democracy, but he's going to have a strong economic message as well.
The funny thing is, I agree totally with the agenda that you just laid out. I think fighting for those things that you just said is an ideal path for the next 4 years. But funny enough, that's why I support Marianne Williamson and not Biden, is because I feel like she's more likely to fight on those issues. Krystal, I'll give you the last question.
Yeah. So I would love to get just your big picture view of, what are you hopeful about? What do you see happening in the country right now that you find encouraging? What is the plan for being able to push Biden, if he's your guy, in, a more progressive direction that he seems to have backed away from in this last number of months? What is your view of those things?
I'm very hopeful for the younger generations. They get it on student loans. They get it on wages. They get it on climate. They get it on cost of college. They get it on childcare. And I think that's the future of the party. I say, you want to see the future of this country, don't worry about Trump versus Biden. Come meet my colleagues who've been elected in the last few years. Meet Maxwell Frost, Elia Ramirez, Jonathan Jackson, not just AOC and Jamal Bowman, who are wonderfully, out there and well known. Just people who are not as well known, Krystal, and you'll get a sense of where this party is headed, where this country is headed. And I would just say to progressives two things. Don't forget how close Bernie Sanders came to being president of the United States. He won Iowa, he won New Hampshire, he won Nevada, and had he done a little better in South Carolina and had everyone not dropped, he would have been the nominee. And I think there's sort of an amnesia. People want the progressives to forget how much of a base we have. So keep fighting. Let's make this president as successful as we can. And then from 28 to 48, let's have 20 years of a progressive movement. This country is only going to go, if we keep fighting, we're only making more and more gains. And sometimes that's what I find. There's so much doomerism or negativity on the left that I say you don't realize how close you are. Nelson Mandela used to say it always seems impossible until it's done, and people often stop short of victory right before they're about to achieve it. And sometimes I feel that about progressives. Like, I get you're not there yet, but you've gotten the most progressive president in your lifetime. And if you can just keep pushing, maybe we can have this progressive movement post-Biden.
Yeah, well, except for the post-Biden part, I'd say that's exactly why we're supporting Marianne Williamson. So,
thank you for being a good sport.
Congressman, we really appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
That we genuinely.
No, I enjoy it. I appreciate the back and forth, and I appreciate because the accountability and forcing to think through the issues, and it's a way to talk to people on the left. I go on your show, I go on Bree sometimes, et cetera, and you look at sometimes the comments, they're all negative, and then I'll be at the airport, I'll talk to someone. By the way, a lot of people listen to you guys and listen to folks, and they'll say, thank you for being on there. And I wish more members of Congress would realize, like, what they remember at the end of the day often is, okay, you're willing to engage.
Yeah.
And you're transparent. Like, I don't go and say something to you that I won't go say on Fox News. And I think those two things are what's going to build trust with the progressive movement.
Totally. And I would love for you to encourage any of your colleagues to come on with us. We'll ask tough questions. It's our job, but I hope you feel like are fair.
And good luck moving forward on the cluster bomb issue.
Keep us updated there.
We're 100% with you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You want to.